Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Nick. We're very excited to have you joining us this morning on a warm morning here in Charlottesville, Virginia, of what promises to be a pretty hot day in Charlottesville, Virginia. But we are thrilled for today's show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Nick, how you doing this morning?
And we're ready because we have hot coffee.
I know.
So
you
I'm excited. Yeah, I don't know if there's any reason to have a little chat before, and let's just get to it.
We're excited, as always, to be presented by Emergent Financial Services here on the I Love CVille Network set. And, of course, we are always powered by our good friends Matthias, Realty, Castro, Cider, Miguel and Chit at Craddock, Serious Insurance, and Forward, Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. We have a great show lined up for you this morning. We're going to be joined very shortly, momentarily, by Tayna Castro. She is the owner of Taiga Specialty Coffee here in Charlottesville, Virginia. And later in the show by Leanne, Pettit, Clement. She is with she is the general director, I should say, of Charlottesville Opera. And, of course, Matthias from Matthias Realty is going to be joining us back on the show, I should say. He's going to be joining us once again on Today y Mañana.
Yeah, and we have some grilling questions for him.
We've saved
grilling questions.
We've saved our toughest
Tough questions.
So it's going to be a fantastic show. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Already, Joanne Baxter watching the show this morning. Thank you. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to being here with you, Nick. And I say we jump right into it. So we are excited to welcome to the show this morning Tayna Castro. She is the owner of Taiga Specialty Coffee. Tayna, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
No, thank you for having me.
We are glad to have you on.
The honor is all ours.
The honor is all ours.
Yeah, so we're going to start to talk about coffee. I think we're going to drink coffee first.
Let's do it. Let's drink some. And I mean, she has this beautiful it's the where the coffee is made from Costa Rica, from volcanic ash. I guess you would call. I mean, I hate to call it a coffee pot because it's too nice. Bandola. There it is. I said it's too nice to call it a coffee pot. It's beautiful.
As I was telling you, each one of those are unique and they are made by hand.
We're showing these beautiful cups.
And the scent.
You got it, Judith?
The aroma.
You got the shot. I've got it raised. Everyone.
There you go. He's got us. He's got us.
Cheers to your
salud.
Salud. Yeah.
Ooh. It's very rich.
It is.
So tell us about the whole process, because you roast your own coffee.
Yeah, I do. So I import also the coffee from Costa Rica directly. So what I do is I go to the farms. I visit, one of the owners of the farm is my good friend and business partner too. Mm-hmm. His name is Diego, and he was the one who introduced me with coffee 1 year ago.
It's just the hand of God moving the microphone.
So now everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I go and visit some farms, and we select the coffee that we want to import. Mm-hmm. And then he does all the process for export the coffee in Costa Rica. And I do the process over here, like all the permissions and yeah.
Wow, so it's direct from Costa Rica on a farm that you personally know the farmer.
Yeah, we know the farmers, we know the farm. And I think the beauty of this is that we know the process and we value that. Mm-hmm. We know the people who is working on the farm. Exactly. So we try to pay the right price for those coffee bags. Because I have to say, I don't know if you guys have been in a coffee farm, but
no, never.
Well, I would invite you next time. But it's a lot of work and a lot of love that they put in those coffee farms. Mm-hmm. Even you can see some of the farmers talking with the plants. It's so funny because they are like, hi, good morning.
Whispering
Buenos dias, hermosa. And so, so then when you have a cup of coffee, your mind, and you have seen those kind of stuff, your mind change about coffee. Mm-hmm. You really appreciate that coffee.
How much work goes into
what
you're drinking right now.
Yeah.
So how did you decide to start Taiga Coffee? Tell us a little bit about how you started this journey.
Yeah, this is a long story. First I moved to Charlottesville 3 years ago because my husband, he is from here. And at the beginning, my English, as Celia Cruz say, is not very good looking. So,
oh no, it's very good.
so I was like, well, what am I going to do there? I want to keep working and I want to do something. But my career back in home, it is in international commerce. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't feel prepared to work in a company or over here in the United States because my English is not enough. So I start to think, what can I do? And this friend who I work with in Costa Rica, Diego, he told me, Tayna, you should start to import green beans. And I was like, well, we know about the logistic a little bit, well, a lot. And he already was exporting to Canada and Europe.
Wow.
So I was like, well, let's go to try. And we import some samples for some coffee roasters. And I visit some coffee roasters, and like I understand because when you show up in a place and you say, hey, well, hello, my name is Tayna, I am coffee importer, and with my English and like no one knows who I am, they were a little bit skeptical and they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna call you later, and we spent like maybe 6 months trying to sell the green beans. And then one day I was like, I give up. I will not be able. No one is going to buy me the coffee. Okay. So I have some saves, and I say, I'm going to buy my own machine, and I'm going to learn how to roast coffee, and I'm going to start to sell my own coffee.
The roasted coffee.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So kind of, realizing that there was a niche, not just to bring the coffee in, but to actually roast it yourself.
Yeah. And I spent like 6 months. One of my good friends, Federico, he came to town. He stayed like a few months, and he teach me everything about roasting because it's a science. I mean, you will think that it's just put the coffee on the machine and turn it on a button. No. You have to know like temperatures and like the humidity of the coffee and which process was that coffee processed. Yeah. And even the weather here, when it's hot, when it's cold, everything changed. Wow. So he was my teacher in roasting, and then after around 6 months, I started myself to roast the coffee. And yeah.
Here you are. Wow, that's fantastic. MJ Arquette, thanks for watching the show this morning. Got some fans joining us on this fantastic show. So, what would you say? I mean, what would you say is unique about or special about the coffee from Costa Rica? Is it just the land? Is it the work that they put in, the culture around coffee? What kind of makes it unique? Yeah, so, well, first of all, Costa Rica is a really blessed country because we have high mountains. The specialty coffee, it is important, the altitude. And Costa Rica has, okay. Yeah, so we have 8 different regions of coffee in Costa Rica, and almost all of them, they are in a high altitude. And the altitude is around 1,000 meters to 3,000 meters. I don't know if it's, it's really high. So that make really special that coffee. And also in the land, we are a new land in Costa Rica. It's formed by the volcano ashes, so it's really rich. Oh. We also take care a lot of the environment. And we have an institution in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is the only country in the world who has institutions who take care of all the coffee farms. So they make the regulations for those coffee farms. They have the everything working on the right path, right? So I feel like a lot is putting into to make Costa Rican coffee so special, and people, obviously. Yeah. Well, the passion, absolutely. Right? Yeah. That's amazing.
Is this how? Just I know we're jumping around, but I'm just curious. Is this how it's traditionally prepared in Costa Rica with this type of vessel?
So this one, the bandola, became more popular since few years ago. But the typical way to prepare coffee is chorreador. Chorreador. Yeah, that is it's a weird name. Yeah, and so. My abuelita, I have memories of my abuelita making a cup of coffee on the chorreadores for all the family. So it's like a piece of wood, and then you put like a cloth bag, You put the coffee inside, and then you pour the hot water.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So
Okay.
every house in Costa Rica has one chorreador at least.
Chorreador. Wow,
That's
interesting.
amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I
Wow.
did not know that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And this coffee really just
It's delicious.
The aroma,
Yeah.
the flavor, and I hardly ever drink it black.
Yeah, I don't drink
This
black
is so
coffee
good.
usually, yeah. No, but it's very rich. Mm-hmm. Is that usually
A feature.
does that come from the roasting or from the beans or
Well,
from both?
since the plant was planted, comes from there. Like this one is Arabica coffee.
Okay.
So and this one has I think so it's 85 or 90 points because a cupping person have to qualify that coffee. So
interesting.
what we are trying to do is importing specialty coffee to Charlottesville and trying to teach people how to drink good coffee.
Right.
So yeah, the roasting also has a lot to do because like this one is medium roast. You can I will never take a specialty coffee and roast it really dark because I will waste all the flavors that you are tasting right now, all the smell that you are perceiving right now. So
Oh, interesting.
So,
So you have to be careful. Almost the better the coffee, the quality of the coffee, you have
Yeah.
to be a little more careful when you roast to not kind of just kill it.
yeah, everything have to be careful since the plant on the farm, then the person, then even the logistic for import the coffee. We import the coffee by airplane because it's a specialty coffee,
Right.
and we try to be really careful with those beans. And then here, when you roast the coffee, you have to also be careful when you grind the coffee, how you save the coffee when it's already roasted.
Interesting.
How you sort of store it
Yeah.
and transport it.
So how would you recommend, so let's say somebody buys a bag of Taiga coffee. How would you recommend they store it and then serve it?
Yeah, so first I would recommend to buy the beans because
beans, okay.
And then have to be fresh roasted, like at least 3 days, 1 week, no more, because then you waste all the flavors and the smell. And then when you store it in your house, maybe in a dark place, not really humid, no in the freezer. No, because I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I have good coffee." I brought this Geisha, that is a really fancy coffee from Panama, and I have been with this coffee 1 month in the freezer. I'm like, no.
So the freezer actually detracts
It's because
the flavor.
some of the bags they absorb the flavors from the freezer.
Oh,
So then
interesting.
your beans are gonna absorb also those flavors. So yeah, and then
freezer's
I
the
recommend
worst.
buy your coffee at least every month. Depends how much you drink, but like try to buy small amounts for every month, and don't keep the coffee more than 1 month because you will lose a lot of the flavors.
Oh, okay, interesting.
That makes total
Yeah.
sense. And of
Yeah.
course, you have the beans because as much as it takes another 10 seconds in the morning to grind your own beans, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you have a grinder that does it for you. I mean, you're not mashing it up.
Yeah, it's not like you
right?
have to go like this in the
Yeah,
morning.
you
Just
just-
stick them in the
Yeah.
grinder and
Yeah.
grind some fresh beans.
Yeah.
And to get that flavor, that's amazing. So, what's it been like being an entrepreneur, taking that step and saying, "I own my own business"?
It's a roller coaster. Like sometimes I am so happy and I'm so proud of myself and my business, and sometimes I am in bed crying, what I am doing, why no one care about this, and I'm never gonna sell anything. But at the beginning was like that. I remember those days when I was like, no, this is a crazy idea. No, what I am doing, I should just find a job and do something like. But now I am so happy. I feel like all the people, the community from Charlottesville has been like supporting. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, like supporting
Absolutely.
a lot. I mean, I love Charlottesville. It's a beautiful community here.
It is.
Like,
It
they support your business. They try to help the small business. That is really important. But yeah, it has been like a roller coaster. Like sometimes I feel like woo, and sometimes I'm like, wow, it's
so
a lot.
hard. Yep,
Yeah,
it
it's a
is.
lot.
Be hard.
And to me, I always tell my husband because it's like, oh, you can do it, but to me, it's even twice more difficult because my language is no English. So even right now, I have to be thinking about what I'm gonna
What
say.
to say.
Yeah.
I would trust me. I would do the same. I do the same. When we switch to double Spanish questions, I'm going to be like, all right, how do I translate? So
Yeah, I have
your
the opposite
English is
trouble. I never think, no matter what language I speak.
Yeah, he
That's
just
my
doesn't
problem.
think.
Yeah, I just don't think.
No, I mean, my father's Cuban, and your English
Yeah.
is better than my Spanish. Big time, big time.
Yeah, but it's difficult.
But it's-
And then like all the permissions when I first installed, that was one of the first like things that make me think like, can I do this? But I started to talk with other Latinos, like my friends Guajiros. They were amazing with me, and they were like, oh, you have to do this, or you have to do this, you have to go over here, because I was new, I didn't know. And sometimes my husband was helping me, but also he has his own job, so I have to do a lot by myself. And some Latinos, they were supporting me. And
No, the Latino community here
Yeah.
supporting each other, especially business-wise,
Yeah.
is so great. I
Yeah.
mean, just they're always looking out for each other and making sure that everybody can be successful
Yeah.
and really grow their business.
Yeah, and that is beautiful. Like they help you, like I told you, I think so before. And well, I first bought the machine, and then it was like, okay, now it's gonna be who I gonna sell this coffee. And so I went to Guajiros, and I was like, guys, I have this idea. I am importing directly the coffee from Costa Rica. It's gonna be fresh roasted for your business. And Harvey was like, okay, let me try some. And he tried, and I was like, oh, we like it. Yeah, we're gonna buy your coffee. And I was like, yes, the first customer.
The first
So that's a
customer.
good shout out. Shout out to Guajiros,
Yeah.
to Guajiros Miami Eatery. If you go there, order the coffee. It's from Tayna.
Yeah.
And if I do say so myself, I think they make the best coffee.
I
in-
know
in
everybody likes
Charlottesville.
his coffee, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that is my coffee."
That's your coffee. So I think we should safely say your coffee is the best
It's the
coffee.
best
Now I've
coffee in
tasted it.
Charlottesville. Yeah. I don't mean to insult anyone else, but it's to our taste.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
then they add a little bit of sugar, and that is the perfect.
That's the key.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
We are Cuban. We need our
caramelized.
sugar.
I do like my caramelized sugar. Provi Garcia Serrara from Spain, watching the show this morning. Gracias, Provi, por escuchar al programa. Y quizás unas preguntas en español
Sí,
para
yo
nuestra
feliz.
audiencia en español. ¿Cuáles consejos tiene usted para latinos que quieren ser empresarios,
Sí.
sino que tienen ese sueño de ser empresario?
No tengan miedo. Sí, bueno, el miedo es bueno porque nos reta, pero no se detengan ahí. Cuando usted tiene una idea o un sentimiento en su corazón de que es por algo, eso no apareció ahí de la nada, tiene que continuar buscando cómo realizar ese sueño o esa meta en una realidad. Es difícil, pero es hermoso después.
Sí.
La sensación de saber que ese negocio es como un pequeño bebé y va a crecer y le vas a dar mucho amor, y como un pequeño bebé va a dar muchos problemas, pero no significa que no lo vas a amar y que no te va a dar la felicidad.
Exactamente, vale la pena.
Sí, vale la pena.
Vale la pena. No, claro que sí, claro que sí. ¿Qué significa para usted ser un empresario latina? Una empresaria latina,
Sí,
yo digo.
sí. Me llena de orgullo primero porque no hay muchas mujeres en el negocio. Muchas mujeres que tuesten café, que importen café, no hay.
Sí.
Es más un trabajo de hombres. Y por ejemplo, tengo una amiga que tiene una hija, y mi amiga es de Costa Rica, y la hija fue nacida acá, y la hija me ve con orgullo, y me dice, tía, quiero ser como usted. Y me encanta eso, saber que estoy influyendo en otras mujeres, que podemos hacer lo que queramos.
Sí.
Y que siendo una latina aún más, ella puede tener ese ejemplo de, wow, Tayna vino de otro país, con otro idioma, es una mujer y está haciendo un trabajo con ayuda de personas, pero...
Sí, claro que sí. Pero fíjate, todos empresarios de cualquier raíz tienen ese ayuda de otras personas.
Sí.
Entonces,
y es importante,
es parte de ser empresario.
Sí, porque yo no podría tener la empresa que tengo ahora sin el apoyo de mi esposo o de mi familia o de mis amigos. Entonces siempre es importante, claro, solita no lo hubiera logrado.
Sí, y para nosotros creemos que hay algo de ser latino, latina también, que hemos superado tantos obstáculos y dificultades con la lengua, con la cultura, que los desafíos de empezar un negocio, bueno, yo ya he superado tantos obstáculos, solo es uno más.
Sí, creo que sí, creo que no sé si es algo de la comunidad, de los latinos, pero somos muy resilientes. Sí. Y muy valientes, no nos da miedo, o sea, tenemos miedos, pero siempre los afrontamos, siempre vamos como, es okay, yo puedo hacerlo, creo en mí y creo que lo puedo hacer.
Exactamente. Bueno, claro que usted es un ejemplar para otros latinos que quieren ser empresarios.
Gracias.
En nuestra comunidad. We just talk about just being Latino and really just, getting past those obstacles and challenges and how that helps, because then you're an entrepreneur, because that's what it is. Being an entrepreneur is like, all right, what's going to happen today that I have to get through and overcome. And you have done a lot of that, so it's been fantastic. So, Tayna, before we let you go, where can people find you? Where can people get some of this amazing coffee if they want to brew it at home?
Yeah, so they can find it in Guajiros, my good friends, and in El Tío is another. El Tío, they have my coffee too. And also we go every weekend to the farmers market in X Park.
Dock Park,
Yeah, and we just start a new project with a coffee trailer, so.
Okay. It's gonna be fun. So, in other words, we're gonna have to have you back soon to tell us how that's going.
That is another obstacle. So.
There we go.
There's always
but you can.
So that's good to know. So they can actually buy your beans direct from you at the Ixart Park Market. That's every Saturday at 9 a.m. 9 a.m.
Well, now it's 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay, 8 to 1 p.m. So go get
plenty
your
of time to go out on a beautiful Saturday. Get some Taiga coffee. This way you can brew it at home.
Don't put it in the freezer.
No.
Yes, buy the beans and don't put it in the freezer.
Thank you so much, guys.
No, thank you so much for coming, Tayna. It's been an absolute pleasure.
For the coffee.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
The smell.
I know, just the aromas and everything.
It's interesting because
so amazing.
As we do our transition, it's always. I always know when I'm enjoying something more than anything else, and my wife always knows it because I smell it more than I drink it. And I did this in Italy when there was the best wine I ever had. I had a couple weeks ago in Italy, and I would not take the last sip. I just kept smelling it because I didn't want to drink it, and my wife was just cracking
I was doing
up.
The same thing with this coffee.
You smell it because you don't want to drink it.
The aroma and just her passion and how much she loves what she does really just shines through, which is what we love here on the show.
And speaking of passion and dedication, we are transitioning to one of my other favorite things.
Another one of your favorite things.
Yes, from coffee
to
opera.
To opera. So we're excited to welcome to the show this morning Leanne Clement. She is the General Director of Charlottesville Opera. Leanne, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's always so much fun. And it does smell amazing in here.
It does. You just filled up the whole studio.
Absolutely. So, Leanne, I'm so excited to have you back because, every year around this time, I get to enjoy having, last year was Caroline, but someone from Charlotte to sort of tell us what's coming down the pipeline. And I guess first thing I got to ask, of course, what are the mainstays that we're looking at this season?
Sure. So this season, I'm excited because, I'm always excited about opera, but I'm especially excited because we're doing two shows that have never been done before at Charlottesville Opera in their 46 years, which is amazing to me. But they're two pretty big endeavors. So the first is our musical Guys and Dolls, which is Frank Lesser's classic performance. Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat. It's just Luck Be a Lady Tonight. So these are all, such great songs, right? So that's our first show on June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And then, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. I've done this wrong all
Whichever one is the
far.
weekend?
Whichever's the weekend. It starts on Friday. And 2 on Saturday and 1 on Sunday. So then we have Tosca, Puccini's Tosca.
Oh, classic.
Yes.
I can tell someone's excited about that one.
There's nothing like it, really, truly. And it's a big endeavor for a company of our size, but We have, we have the people to do it, and we have the really inventive and creative directors and designers to make it work in the Paramount Theater. And I'm super excited, especially about our performers for this one. I mean, for both of them, absolutely. But these three singers are really incredible. Marcia Thompson is our Tosca, and she has sung it many, many times. And however, I recently learned she has never jumped. At the end of Tosca, there's a jump, and I won't ruin it all by telling you about the jump.
Won't tell you why or who.
Right, but there's a jump, and so I asked her because the director said, "Is she willing to jump?" And so I called Marcia, and she said, "I've never gotten to jump. I'd love to jump."
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, so she's going to jump.
Wow.
So I'm super excited. That's just a little teaser. Then we have Todd Thomas, who's Baron Scarpia, who's the bad guy, the villain in Tosca. And Todd has sung this role all over the world. I mean, he sings at the Met regularly. He sings, in Italy and Germany, wherever. I mean, he's just incredible. And interestingly, one of the first summer programs I went to as a young singer, Todd was there. And I was covering the role of Azucena in another opera. And he did this masterclass with us as young singers, and just an incredibly giving and passionate, singer. And now here I'm hiring him to come and sing at this company that I'm running. Oh my gosh, it's a really amazing feeling. So he's wonderful, and he's sung Tosca 4 other times already this season. So he's sung the role of Scarpia. And then we have Adam Deagle, who is a tenor who sings at the Met regularly and all over the country. He's coming to sing Mario Cavaradossi, and he'll just be incredible, and also another wonderful human being.
It's one of the beauties of Charlottesville Opera. I think that, when you think of an opera in Charlottesville, I think people don't realize if they don't go frequently or really read about it, the world-class performers sing at Charlottesville Opera. It's not, this is the best we can do. This is world-class performers that come in and are at these, really classic operas that people can go and see.
Absolutely. And, for Guys and Dolls, for instance, the singer who's coming to sing Nathan Detroit for us, he's currently in a production of Falstaff at the Met. And so if people saw the Met broadcast last weekend, they would have seen him as Bardolfo in Falstaff, and, he's having this incredible career. But the wonderful thing about a summer program is that, opera is generally done during the year, so during the fall, winter, and spring. So during the summer, many of these singers who have these great careers have some time off. And who doesn't want to come to Charlottesville?
Exactly.
It really is. It really, what I've found over the past year as general director is that it's a huge draw. The city is a huge draw for singers. It's such a beautiful place to come, very welcoming, and arts loving. As you were talking with your last guest, very supportive of the arts and of small businesses, and it's a great feeling place to be.
That's wonderful. Absolutely. Joe Stone, Bill McChesney watching the show this morning. Elizabeth Urpí says excited for both of the shows this season. Absolutely. Same here. And it's just, and one of the beauties, I think, I touched on this, I think, last year with Caroline as well. I love one of the things that you do at Charlottesville Opera is you pair something that maybe for people who haven't been to opera before kind of is a little more accessible, as last year was The Merry Widow.
Right.
Sort of something to sort of get people who maybe are like, sitting there for 2-3 hours watching something in a different language, people singing, I don't know if I could do it, but to say, all right, well, how about something classic like Guys and Dolls? It's in English.
Right,
it's
absolutely.
musical. It's New York. It's Cuba. It's all that kind of flair.
Cuba. I forgot about that.
Remember, they go to Cuba.
Trip to Havana.
They do a little trip to Havana in Guys and Dolls. And those classic songs, Let Be a Ladies Night, you get the advantage over the movie that you get an actual singer singing it instead of Marlon Brando talking it.
Right.
At the announcement ceremony, there was a gentleman who sang it, and he sang it much better than Brando. So you can be guaranteed that it will be a better performance than
exactly. And so it's something that sort of people can get a taste of what it's like, and then realize how much fun this is. And I can take that next step to see something historic like Tosca.
Right, exactly. And and I will remind your viewers and listeners that the opera is always translated. If it's even if it's in English, we put the translations on the side of the stage so you can read along. But I've recently been doing these talks with several groups, and I've said, you don't really have to know every word. Opera is not about the details. It's a grand art form. You need to know the basics of the story, and then you need to just sit back and enjoy it. Let the emotions take over, because that is what makes opera great. Is those singers pouring their hearts out and pouring their voices into this music that has been written, and then to have this full orchestra supporting them. There's really nothing like that. And if I can just say one other thing. You're talking about well, you're talking about getting people to give opera a chance. So this summer we're adding a concert on July 1st. And I'm super excited about this concert because it's going to be at Ting Pavilion. It's going to be singers, it's going to be orchestra, it's going to be chorus. It's going to be incredible, and it's going to be a little bit of opera, a little bit of music, musicals, and some other music as well that really might, surprise people that an opera company is presenting. So I'll leave it there because I don't want to give it all away, but the event is called Arts for All Festival.
Arts for All Festival.
Nice.
Festival. I like it.
And so we're inviting our friends from other arts nonprofits to join us at Ting Pavilion and do activity tents for kids and families. There'll be opportunities for the audience to even sing along, maybe.
Nice. And so it'll be more. I guess instead of one whole opera, it'll be more selections of different things.
Yes, more of a concert, and just to give people a taste of opera. Maybe they're not ready to go and commit to sitting, like you said, for 2 or 3 hours in the theater. Although the Paramount is a beautiful place to be.
It's a beautiful place to
sit. I was going to say, part of the appeal of opera is that you lose yourself in the performance when you're there. Don't just watch it on the TV, because I love the Met performances that you can watch on TV, but it's not the same. You got to go in person and get the story, because I think the songs are wonderful, and like Puccini, but Puccini is weaving into that. Like, you're led to these great arias. They're not just dropped out of nowhere. I mean, there's a story that leads up to it, and a lot of these moments, part of the reason they're so famous and so impactful is because of everything that's come before it and everything that will come after it. So make sure you you have to be in that space.
You're absolutely right. And there's nothing, I love the Met broadcast too, because who doesn't love seeing giant sets and amazing singers? But what you miss are having those vibrations in your chest that you get from sitting in a theater with operatic singers projecting that sound. And it's what happened to me when I was a child, and when I was first introduced to opera, was I heard opera singers, and there was a physical feeling in my body when those singers sang. And you don't get that in a movie, in a movie theater, but you get it in a live performance.
Well, because another thing to remind people is that there's no microphones for an opera, right? The singers are projecting their own voices, so all the musical fluids, as Berlioz described it, the musical fluids. Like, we love that phrase.
I love
the musical fluids. That you're getting that's all that's from the performer themselves. So like the power of their voices is just unbelievable. And in balance with the orchestra, is like it's an immersive experience that's completely raw and organic.
Right.
Absolutely. And with something like Puccini, one of the beauties of it is
it's like a rich dessert.
Few people have emotion in their music to the extent of Puccini.
No one has emotion.
Like you said, you don't even you will know the basic outline of the plot. Right. And you don't need to be following all the words, because you will feel from the music, from how they're singing, from the passion and what's going on the stage, you'll know what's going on. Like,
Absolutely.
You will be able to tell, oh man, I feel this pain or this joy or this tragedy.
That's
and
right.
so forth.
Right, you don't have to know every word. You don't have to be able to. You can feel. You can just what you're saying. You can feel what's happening.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The only other thing I was going to ask is, so in addition to the fact that it was never done before, what was the decision behind Tosca? Because it's a very ambitious opera.
It is a very ambitious opera. A big part of it has to do with the success of our community chorus last year. So last year, Michael Sloan, who you all probably know well,
he's going to be on the show.
He's on next week.
Or in a couple weeks. Soon, yes.
Okay,
yes, in April.
He is an incredible conductor. He was our conductor last season for us for Sound of Music, but he also helped us institute the community chorus for the opera. And it was incredible because these singers came out of the woodwork. And they're not just a singer who's like, I kind of like to sing. These are people who have trained as operatic singers, some of them, and they don't sing anymore professionally, but they want to sing, together in this group. And there are some who they just have fantastic voices, and they've worked with Michael for a long time. So he established this chorus, and that's one of the things that you really have to have for Tosca, because there's this Act 1 Te Deum that is the centerpiece. I mean, musically, everybody waits for that, and it's like this wall of sound, and over top of that, Scarpia is wailing away, about how he is going to get Tosca as he wants her. And the company didn't have that before that, and so Michael really helped us establish that. And we knew, once we talked with him and said, would you take this on this year? Would you be chorus master for us and bring this Te Deum, to life for us? And he said he would. And that's what's allowed us to do Tosca.
Wow, that's
amazing.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes, it really is.
I forgot about that moment.
It is. Well, and that's it. People don't, people think about VC Darte, they think about the jump, they think about other dramatic moments, but that is the moment that most people walk out and say, oh my gosh, I was so, moved by that. And similarly for Guys and Dolls, it hasn't been done before because it's a pretty dance-heavy show, and we haven't had a resident choreographer who could really, it's hard to teach singers to dance. We're not dancers. And we try. We really want to be, but we're not. And so it takes a really special choreographer to make that happen. And so last year we started using Casey Turner, who's local, and she had this magical language with those singers, and they all walked out like, I've been dancing for years. It was really amazing.
I think that's going to be fun. I think they're going to have a fun time.
They really are.
Doing some of the numbers in Guys and Dolls.
Absolutely. Casey's going to do a great job, I know. So.
Oh, that's amazing. So Rosalia Tardaro, thanks for watching the show this morning. She's liking the show this morning. I know she's a fan of opera as well. So probably why she's watching this more. So where can people, remind us of the dates, and where can people learn more, get tickets, find out, particularly for the festival?
Sure. So our season, everyone arrives on June 4th, and so you'll see concerts coming up starting June 4th, but our main dates are June 23rd through 25th for Guys and Dolls, July 14th and 16th for Tosca, and July 1st for the Arts for All Festival, at Ting Pavilion.
Fantastic.
And you can get tickets on charlottesvilleopera.org or the Paramount website.
Okay, remember charlottesvilleopera.org or the Paramount website.
It's so easy, and it really is easy.
Yeah.
It really is easy, and it's a beautiful.
It's easy, affordable. It's family friendly. Yep. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
The location. I think I'm so glad, because I think last year I was so sad I was out of town for Merry Widow. I'm going to try to see both this year, because they both sound.
We'd love to have you.
The Merry Widow was wonderful. It was
a lot
of fun.
I was so jealous. I was out of town. I was like, I wanted to go see that.
Well, as soon as it was announced, like the season at this point, as you can tell, my wife is indicating that if we see Tosca, we must also see Guys and Dolls. But we're going to see both this year.
Well,
I think that's what she means by exactly. Excited for both means if you take her to Tosca, I think she's.
Well, I told her she had no choice to see Tosca.
Right.
Because if it's Puccini, she has no choice. I have to go.
Yes, it's going to be amazing. And we also have education programs throughout the summer. We'll have a final dress rehearsal that's open to students to come, and so we'll do that through Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, other organizations. We'll have information on our website where people can sign up to bring their kids, and that's just it's much easier to come during the day. That's at 2:00, so people can come, maybe watch the first act, and if that's enough for their kids, but it's a good way to introduce them to opera too.
Absolutely. No, I really love what you're doing at Charlottesville Opera, just really taking what is one of the great art forms of history, right, of our culture, and really making sure that the next generation and the people today can enjoy it and appreciate
without
it.
having to go to New York or these big.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, it's because it's a high quality production. Like, you can't get better.
Well, and it's interesting.
It's
one of my board members recently told me that he came to his first show just 5 years ago, and when he came, what he noticed the most was how professional it was. And when he didn't expect that walking in, he's been a lifelong opera fan, and has seen opera all over the world, and he said, I was just blown away that this was right here in Charlottesville. And so the next year he joined the board, and is just really a dynamic leader for us. But I think that's a lot of people's experience, is that, I didn't expect to get this in Charlottesville, But it's here, like so many things in Charlottesville, such high quality.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a special place.
Definitely.
It's a blessing to be here. Leanne,
It's a blessing to have you here, too.
yeah,
I was
thank
say,
you.
like, that's the
Absolutely.
great part.
It's wonderful
It's been
to be
so
here.
wonderful. Two great comments for you. So Elizabeth Urpí says, excited for Tusta 2, gentlemen. That expand my musical knowledge. And Rosalia says, I love opera. Tusta is my favorite. Congratulations, and it's beautiful to have a show to promote opera. And then, she wants you. I think she wants you guys to also make Pagliacci one of these days.
Yes, I love Pagliacci. And I guess we have to, I would like to do Cavalleria along with it. They're often done together.
That was my
Yes.
grandmother's favorite opera. So I always think of her. Yeah, I was God rest her soul. She always loved.
Yes.
That was her number one favorite.
It does have this beautiful. I always think of it now because it happens around Easter, and the show happens around Easter, and there's this beautiful Easter cantata that happens in it, and you've got to have a great chorus. So it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Good. Fingers crossed.
That's right.
Leanne, it's been such a pleasure.
Thank you
I
for
always
having
love
me.
having you on.
Thank you for
It's
coming
been so great. I really appreciate
It's
it.
always great to be here, and thank you all for your support. And I look forward to seeing you at the opera.
Absolutely.
We'll be there. Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Oh, so fantastic. I love what they do. It's just, and it really is, it just speaks to the great community that this is that we have.
Rosalia is saying that if they do Pagliacci, she will come.
She will come to see it.
From New York.
She will come down from New York.
And I mean, it's just that Puccini is just so. I always describe him as a rich dessert. It's something you have to experience in person because you can't get the same. You can't get it. I mean, it's beautiful to listen to it, do recordings, but the experience of it is just completely unique.
Different.
And he just had such a way of like communicating emotion, like through music.
Absolutely.
Everyone should be just go if you can. Absolutely, just 100% recommend it.
Absolutely. Same here. More people loving the show. Mark Walters loving the show this morning. Merilyn Torpeño watching the show this morning. Gracias, Merilyn.
Amy Hall, thank you for watching the show.
Fantastic.
a
And
lot
from
of-
one great guest. Man, this is going to be such a fantastic show because I already know Matthias.
already
It's
been
always
great.
great to have it. From one great guest to another, we are super excited to welcome to the show Matthias Yohn from Matthias Yohn Realty. Matthias, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me for a second time.
No, it's great to have you back. Fantastic to have you back. So for those new to the show, right, who haven't, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you first became sort of interested in the real estate field.
Well, we just listened to Leanne describing how we have this amazing cultural offering here in Charlottesville, and it just made me think back to when I moved here. That was in 2014. And I'm from Germany, you can probably tell by the accent. I moved here in 2014, and Leanne just described perfectly how I feel about Charlottesville and the area here in Central Virginia. And it's really that passion that I'm sharing with clients. So if you combine that with service that I'm providing to my clients, that really showcases what makes working in real estate here in Charlottesville and Central Virginia so special. And so, yeah, if I had to summarize it, it's passion for the area, combined with working with people. So I'm fortunate and blessed in that way.
Absolutely. So what's kind of the process like? So for working with you, what if someone walks in the door or gives you a call, says, all right, I'm a young person, I'm looking for what kind of the process like?
Well, it really varies. Nowadays we have the added challenge of uncertainty in the market, or on a global stage, we just need to pull up the news and we get overwhelmed by what is happening. And that does impact how people feel about major events in their life, like purchasing a home. We know home purchases are driven by life events, and that is being influenced by market conditions. So right now, a lot of people have questions, and more than ever, it's our job as real estate professionals to give insight into the specific local market. I am not a financial advisor, but I can tell people about the area, about Charlottesville, about the different neighborhoods, how Charlottesville is growing, and how now we are also looking at surrounding counties. Especially in my case, I'm very interested in talking to my clients about opportunities closer to the Blue Ridge, Nelson County, Greene County, Louisa County. All those counties are changing. That gives the counties also the challenge of, discussing rezoning, but it also creates opportunities, a lot more developments in the area. So we are creating more livable space. And so to answer your question, what is the conversation like if someone talks to me about purchasing a home here in the area or possibly selling their home? It really depends on the circumstances. Selling your home right now might make sense if your circumstances change and you move to a different area. But the answer might also be, maybe right now is not the best time to sell because you need to find a new home as well. And it might be challenging depending on where you're looking to purchase. And now, the pandemic, it was a crazy and very interesting real estate market. And as the market was pivoting last year over the course of summer and fall of 2022, people were uncertain about how that will develop into 2023. How does it impact the real estate market? And again, the answer is it depends where you are. Yeah. If you are looking to purchase a home in downtown Charlottesville, I would say even though the market is changing, the demand is still very high. And we see this. This spring market has begun for us in January this year. And depending on where you're looking at properties, it is a hot market right now. So we are again seeing the multiple offer situation for properties in the Charlottesville area. It is a little bit different if you go more into the countryside right now. But again, each market provides opportunities depending on where you're looking to purchase and where you're moving.
Yeah,
so
makes total sense.
It's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think that's one of the values because, real estate is ultimately such a local market in the sense that, as financial advisors, right, we look at national pictures, but one of the things I can always tell you, right, is it's different. You think of the stock market, right? The stock market in New York is the same as the stock market here. In other words, if Castro is up on the New York Stock Exchange and you go to buy Castro in your own computer, it's the same price. But you can't look at national real estate numbers and say, well, that's what it's going to be in Charlottesville. Because it's just, you really need someone who knows what the actual market where you are is looking for. Because it does help say, well, in Seattle, home prices are down. Well, that has no effect on Charlottesville. Certain things affect interest rates affect everywhere. But in terms of the movement of the market, it's very much a local aspect. So, what are some of the key things you're seeing in Charlottesville in particular, or Charlottesville, Albemarle, maybe for those who are in that people should be aware of?
Well, Charlottesville is a very popular city. We will always have UVA in the middle of Charlottesville or Albemarle County. We will always be 2 hours away from DC. What does that mean for property values here? Well, you're probably safe to purchase a property in downtown Charlottesville if you're concerned about home value increasing or decreasing, right? Those factors play a role. Surrounding counties, as I mentioned earlier, I think we are seeing a lot of change there. Louisa County, Fluvanna County, Nelson, Augusta, there's a lot of change. So our scope changes a little bit, and we are looking a little bit outside of Charlottesville. Yeah. Not only because, Charlottesville is exploding, and even with the current rezoning, I think we will see much more growth going along the 29 North corridor towards Ruckersville, Greene County, but also, and we've spoken about this before, into the mountains.
Yep.
And that's what I'm excited about, because frankly, I believe we should all look at mountains more often, and
I can agree with that wholeheartedly.
there's a lot of growth in the Waynesboro area.
Okay, Waynesboro.
Exactly. Stanton has experienced growth in the past, and right now we're seeing this happening in Waynesboro. And some people might say that has started years ago. But I think we're shifting our focus a little bit and looking at the potential of those areas, because we have to look at other areas outside of Charlottesville.
Just a quick question, because I know that you have a lot of expertise in second home purchases as well as first home purchases. Is that a different conversation with clients in terms of, because I'm assuming that people who like to look at second homes near the mountains, are they looking for something different than somebody who would be buying a first home near the mountains? Is it a different conversation?
It is, because it changes the perspective on a few of the factors that go into purchasing a home. In the second home market, the daily commute is not as big a factor anymore. If you own at Wintergreen or somewhere along the Blue Ridge Parkway, Nelson County, Rockbridge, or just in the Stanton area, and you live in DC, you're not looking at the 2-hour driving distance as much, because the entire idea behind the second home is a home away from your home.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Possibly more quiet, more nature, peaceful, less traffic. So yeah, it's a different conversation. And obviously it also comes along with a different financial impact. If you are able to look at a second home here in the area, chances are you're not as dependent on specific financing or loan options. So again, we are pivoting back to the market conversation.
Is that going to be a bigger factor?
It remains a factor, but it always depends on your circumstances. And so chances are interest rates are not as important if you're looking to purchase a second home in the mountains here. So it depends on the circumstances.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, one of the things I'm seeing more and more, which I think you should speak to. So, I mean, I think we very much live in a do-it-yourself mindset age, where people can be like, well, I can do this on the internet, or I now see like commercials from mortgage companies telling you, like the big national ones saying, no, you can buy and sell your house online from us. But I think there's still a place for the realtor. What would you say that the benefits that a realtor brings to the table over the do-it-yourself approach or temptation?
Yeah, and I like that question, because frankly, we have to ask ourselves, how do we create value to our clients? There are individuals that are selling their home by themselves without consulting us or using our services, and it's certainly possible. But for the average homeowner, there is a lot of value in getting the guidance. And that's what we do every day. We develop our expertise, we listen to the news, we know the neighborhoods, we know the market trends, and we have to understand how that applies to our individual client in the area. Can you purchase a home by yourself? Yes, you can. You can, line up with a title company and an attorney. You can drive through the neighborhoods yourself. So that is happening, and we see it from time to time. I personally would suggest to get as much help as possible. If you are working full-time, chances are you don't have the time to show your home every day when you're selling your home, doing it by yourself. So there is just value in talking to professionals about it. We do this every day. That is our job. Happy to help, happy to assist.
Absolutely. And there's some audience questions actually for you here. Brenna Rice watching the show this morning. Thanks. So with
Hi, Brenna.
I think thinking a little bit, she's thinking two kind of questions. The first one on the investment side. So with rates where they currently are, I think that's something on a lot of people's mind. I know even not just Brent. I've had some people that ask like, interest rates. I remember, it was easy for me to think that a home was a good investment, Alex, when rates were 2 3/4. But now that rates are
as the largest
between 6 and
investment
7,
for most people,
then notice it. Is it still a good investment?
Well, I think when we listen to the news, we learn that the interest rates are likely not going up, but rather down. Looking at the bigger picture,
the longer
they will slowly go down again. When is the best time to purchase a home? You know this saying, the best time is always 5 years ago. And it comes back to the fact that it really depends on your circumstances. If you are looking long-term to invest in a property, either because it is an investment or because you're moving your family, what is the big picture? Are you still going to be here in 3 to 5 years? And I understand circumstances can change quickly. Sometimes you can't plan for those life events.
But you have to base it on your current plan. Yeah.
But if that is your goal, 3 to 5 years, then yes, I would suggest compete with the 15 other offers on this one downtown Charlottesville property, because it might be worth it. You are planning to stay here. If that is not your plan, or if your professional future is more uncertain, then maybe that's a different conversation. So I appreciate the question, but it really depends on the individual client and their life circumstances. And maybe that again goes into your initial question. Each transaction is different. Each client just requires a very specific conversation, and that's frankly what we deliver.
Yeah,
there's not one blank answer to each question. There's a lot of conversation to be had, and frankly, that's what we can offer. We take the pace out of the transaction a little bit. Our job is to give guidance, but also to do the legwork. Yeah. The decision will be made by the home buyer or by the home seller, but everything in between, that's where our service comes in.
That's where, it's true. Also, I think kind of because you have the knowledge, you have the experience, right? You've seen the different situations people can be in, there's different circumstances. I think it probably also takes some of the anxiety out of it, in the sense of someone saying, "All right, if you tried to do this yourself, how do I value my home? How do I figure out what this is worth? How do I do this? How do I know what's going on in the neighborhood?"
With home purchasing,
you'd have to.
Matthias is experienced with home buying, with homes. He can look. He can offer proper advice. Like, there's things that you don't know about houses, that a realtor will know. It's just sort of, and I mean, just talking with Matthias, because we have a Thursday morning Station C event. Like, the amount of information that especially Matthias has on home buying is just unbelievable. You just can't get that just from YouTube. Yeah,
and you couldn't read enough articles to sort of like.
To simulate being a professional yourself.
Exactly, because you're doing. I mean, when you're trying to sell your home, you have your own job. Maybe you've got some kids and so forth. You're not going to become full-time realtor just for your own home.
For one purchase.
For one purchase.
Well, we have access to so much information. You mentioned YouTube. You mentioned Google, and sure, there's a lot out there that you can use to your advantage. But how does it apply to your specific conversation? And you mentioned the stress and anxiety, and that frankly what everyone feels, whether you're purchasing a home for the 7th time or it's your first home ever, you just got married and you're looking to purchase. You always have some level of discomfort, anxiety, and sense of overwhelmment involved. Yeah. And the more conversations we can have, the more legwork we can provide and take the stress away from you, the more smooth the entire experience.
Absolutely. That makes total sense. So, I mean, in an environment like this, just out of curiosity, on the seller side, say, all right, you're in your home, you maybe you have to move for work, or you're thinking, okay, maybe it's time for me, I I bought this home when I had one kid and now I have three. How do you even know about, what kind of the process to figure out what is my home worth? Right, because things seem to change on a day-to-day basis. Is that something people come and kind of talk, you work through with them to sort of figure out what this is worth beyond, just what stamp the tax people put on it?
Easy answer. You just go to Zillow and it gives you this estimate, and that's your home value. That's it. No?
I was like,
I don't know about that. Yeah, that seems too easy.
No, and a lot of people do that. There's an algorithm in place that somehow magically gives you the value of your home. And so it's dangerous to just go by this one information. There are a lot of factors that go into that. You mentioned the county assessment. That is one factor that we look at, of course. What's the tax value? But then we have to look at the overall trends in this particular neighborhood and the broader area that we're in. We have to look at market conditions a little bit, but then again, national market trends, how does it apply to your specific neighborhood? There's a lot of noise out there, and the goal is to look at your property on the street in this neighborhood and how is this developing. So everyone knows we look at comms. That's what we do every day, and it gives us a lot of insight into how will the value of your home change in the near future. How does it look in 3 months, next year? And how does it look today compared to 2 years ago? And again, 2 years ago, we were in the middle of a pandemic, so some of the numbers might not be applicable as much as we would like them to be because things change. But we mentioned this example of a UVA or downtown Charlottesville property. Chances are the demand is still that high, even though we are easing out of that pandemic real estate market.
Is that something you expect to continue over the next 3 to 5 years?
I always like to say Charlottesville is always 2 hours from DC and always has UVA.
Some things never change.
Some things just don't change.
Right.
And obviously we're looking with big interest at inventory. How are the counties or the city of Charlottesville dealing with that consistent problem of low inventory? And sure, we might see an ease coming in the near future, but it will take some time for that to change. The rezoning that is happening in Charlottesville is very interesting to observe in that context of low inventory. But to answer your question, yes, I think there will always be high demand in Charlottesville. And personally, I think, the more people look at the Blue Ridge and the counties between Charlottesville and, let's say, Stanton, Lexington, that area, we're going to see a higher demand for that, which I welcome. I want to share my passion for that area with as many people as possible. Yeah.
Absolutely, makes total sense, and I think that speaks, I think, to it, because a machine, an algorithm, a computer, they can only ever look backwards. And it takes kind of the human touch that you bring to say, all right, well, this trend that the machine is looking at, that 2020 trend, that might not continue. But this trend that the machine is seeing and saying and factoring in, that will continue. Sort of that human touch to say, what from experience do I think going forward is going to happen, and what do I think is not going to be repeated? Because the computer the model only ever looks backwards. Zillow only ever looks to the past. It doesn't have the human touch that says, what do I see in the future to do that? Which a human being, not that we're perfect, right? It's not like you have a crystal ball, but you have the experience and the human intuition to be able to say, in this neighborhood, here's what I'm seeing that a computer cannot see.
And I think we should combine what we have access to.
Yeah.
So the technology, the internet, and with interest, we're looking at AI and how that is changing the game. We have all this accessible. So let's use it to our advantage, but at the same time, still approach it with a human touch. And that, frankly, is very important to me, and that's why I am affiliated with Wiley Real Estate, a boutique firm that is local to the area. It's not a big national chain. Obviously, we are using, social media and AI maybe for marketing in the future, and we get a lot of data from the internet. So all that is something that we use to our advantage.
Absolutely.
But I still prefer to sit down with a client actually in person. There's a lot of value in doing that, and frankly, there's a lot of fun and just importance in sharing that passion and sitting down with someone as opposed to just picking up the phone or let's do a Zoom call. If possible, that's how we like to do it.
Makes total sense. Absolutely. Matthias, always fun to have you on. Before we let you go, where can people get in touch and find you?
Well, I saw my name popping up on the screen.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No, but absolutely. I have a Google profile. I'm on social media, not as much as I should be, but always working on that. Yes, please reach out to me if you want a consultation, if you want to talk about your home or you're moving to the area. I'd love to share my passion with you for the area.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you guys for having me
Thank
again.
you,
A pleasure.
Matthias.
It's always
Always
good.
an honor.
And we're looking forward to having you back. Matthias will be back. I know
We'll
he's
be
on,
back.
he's on the
He's
calendar.
on the
yeah,
list.
so
He's on the list. He will be back.
It's been fantastic.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so much
Matthias.
for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, always. I always
That
learn
was a
so
good chat.
much from talking to Matthias.
Oh,
I just feel
yeah,
like
no, absolutely.
He has those insights and just kind of, and I think one of the things I appreciate most is too his calm. He's unfazed, I think, by all the different changes and stuff. He kind of puts them together and explains how it's
He
happening.
pieces things together extremely well. It's one of the things getting to know him. Like he's able to focus on the essentials and separate that from the noise. He's very
Absolutely.
talented with that.
Which is key. to
Well,
separate
for
out
real
the
estate, it is because of the fact that it's the biggest investment is you get all the junky news about. It's the same in our business because we were just talking about you were talking about Zillow. Looking back, the robo advisors do the same things. Why we can't stand when people come in with their profiles and they're like, I don't understand why it's not doing well. And it's because a robot looks backwards and it's not the same as looking forwards. And you
Exactly.
need the human to be able to say like, this historical information is important. This historical information
not the
is
whole
not.
picture.
Right? What is applicable? What is not applicable? And then trying to go forward from there. And that's the value Matthias brings just every single time. I pulled an Xavier and I smacked the microphone. So
That's
I
all right.
apologize if you heard the smack.
Exactly. This has been an amazing
And
show.
this was great.
I enjoyed
Yeah.
every minute of it. Just some fantastic entrepreneurs and organizations that we have
And
in the
coffee.
community.
The fantastic coffee.
I'm still thriving off that
Yeah,
coffee.
I'm still
It's
I was
still-
still feeling just the effects of it.
I
Like
know.
even just when Leanne and Matthias were on, I was just like the smell. I was like, it's true, it just
The aroma.
lingers. Yeah.
So good. So be sure to check that out.
So
Taiga
just
specialty coffee.
the three
It's
things.
our-
If you're moving here, contact Matthias. If you want coffee, go get some Tiger coffee at the XR Park.
Or
on
Aguajiros.
Saturdays, or Aguajiros, or El Tío. And last but not least,
Check out
go check out the Charlottesville Opera.
charlottesvilleopera.org.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Next week, some more great guests. Tammy Tatum, our local artist, going to be joining us, as well as Cheryl Council from Relax CVille. Loved being on here today with you. It's been
Xavier, I believe, will be back next week.
Xavier, I think,
after
is
a
back
long-
next week, so you'll get some Alex and Xavier on next week's show. Thanks so much, Tevin. We had some great comments.
Great comments. Thank you, Brenna,
Great
for
questions,
questions.
Brenna. Really
hitting the-
appreciated them.
I love how we teased Matthias that we'd grill him, and then Brenna actually was the one that came up with these very
Great
intense questions. Fabulous.
Great questions. Rosalia Tardara, thanks so much for watching. Elizabeth Urpí, some great comments. Just everyone, really appreciate you all watching us this morning. Of course, always appreciate Emergent Financial Services being here on the I Love CVille Network set. Our good friends at Castle Hill Cider, at Craddock Serious Insurance, at Matthias Realty, and of course, forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Thank you for co-hosting with me 2 weeks in a row. Loved it. Looking forward
And
to our
booking
next one.
all 6 guests just for
And booking all the guests, exactly. Really appreciate all that you do for Today and Mañana. Really appreciate all that you and the audience do for Today and Mañana. Be sure to like and share, send us any questions, comments, people you'd love to feature, entrepreneurs in the community. We look forward to seeing all of you next week. But until that time, as we always love to close it out on the show, hasta mañana.
That was good.
Great show.